I love growing things. I love forestry. I love talking about trees. These have been planted April 10th. And then I have these older clones that have been planted April 15th. In this section here is the sulu, unnið. Then we have the hatlamor. So we have roughly 6,000 planted here currently. And these were planted in the 35 tree cassettes. These will be planted come August this year. And these mainly are the first year growth. You can tell just it's the new thin growth. And with the hatlamor, we left at least one bud on the top 2/3 of the stem that we cut. And all these stems were cut at 8 centimeter lengths. And so 2/3 of the stem is in the soil. And you can see it's doing very well. These probes that sit up here, here, and here, they'll just open just a tiny bit. To start these stems for production, we do run them in buckets of water. They're run in water for 24 hours or greater, just to get the energy in the stem to start producing, to allow water to flow through the stem, to wake up the stem so that when we plant the stem, it'll start producing roots and producing new buds so they'll grow more efficient. So you can see with this new growth, this is just been the last 13 days, but with this, there was a bud that we left on this stem, and you can see this new growth came from that bud. With this extra stem that will die because the energy is going to this new growth, this won't cause any harm to the tree in the long run. When these are planted, this stem will stretch out and then the cottonwood will grow and it won't leave a scar or anything like that. It'll prune itself. This dead stem will have no effect in the long run to the growth of the tree. If there is energy being produced into this stem, in the future we'll have smaller buds start from here and be produced as well. But once this growth becomes 30 centimeters, we'll trim these trees almost like giving them a haircut. So we'll trim them, and just to maintain that 30 centimeter growth, it'll allow the tree to focus more on producing a better root system than spending all its energy growing straight and tall. This is just a private experiment of mine with these three. They're actually planted upside down, just to show folks on site and some of the potential tree planters, they will grow upside down. So these were just planted on Friday of last week. Yeah. So we start off with sterile cassettes. These 24 cassettes are brand new, but if you have old cassettes, you can just run them through steam, water, give them a good scrub. So currently, growing these older clones in this greenhouse, we're using a 35 cassette tray, which allows a greater root establishment instead of some of the smaller pine trays that you'll see planting all over Iceland. It just allows for these poplars to establish a better root system once we put them into the ground. We sterilize these before putting peat in. We have a mixture of 50% peat, 50% stone, and this just helps aerate the soil and help promote root growth with the black cottonwood stems. You want to make sure that the soil is moistened. Usually I'll spray it down or just mist them down before putting the stems into the soil. So when planting these stems, just start a hole with a pencil and then plant the stems. Just make sure the hole has been sealed off, pinched shut. Also planting them 2/3 the way down. Once this is done, you want to give them a really good soak, 30 minutes, and just make sure the plugs have been soaked through, and you can monitor that by touching the base or putting your finger at the bottom of the plug and feeling that all the plugs have been soaked through. So with these cottonwood stems that we've planted here in the past 10 days, we've been watering them every 2 days, and these trees haven't gotten any fertilizer, but we will be using fertilizer in the next couple days to promote root growth. An organic nitrogen fixing fertilizer is fine, something that you can dilute in water, and we'll just soak them with this fertilizer. It'll just help them establish a better root system. That's our goal, so that come August, we're able to plant these black cottonwood into the ground, and they'll do well for future years to come. With some of the stems planted, we try and use all the material that we've harvested from the tree. So cutting them into 8-centimeter lengths. We have a lot of new growth, but as you can see, there's a lot more thicker stems as well. Some of these are actually 7 years growth. And then if you look at this tray, we have a lot of older stems that we're growing, and without any buds. You can see these dormant buds that are coming from the bark of the black cottonwood. They have already started to pop up. These stems are at least 10 years old. We do have a limitation on how big diameter the stems we can grow in the cassettes. We've cut from 0.2 to 0.7 diameter. But if you were growing them in pots or trays at home, any of the 2-liter, 3-liter pots, you can grow diameters as big as 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. And the black cottonwood, if you're planting them directly into the ground, you'll be able to grow them as big as you want, as long as 2/3 of the cottonwood is buried underground. But we do have this limitation with the cassettes. We can only use more or less the newer growth, and we're finding the newer growth with at least one bud on it is very productive. It allows it to focus on growing that one shoot, also spending the energy to grow the root system and create a strong root system in these bigger cassettes, the 24 and the 35. Yeah. As a kid, I used to spend a lot of time in the forest. I never realized you could spend your life focused on forestry. The one thing with these cottonwoods is that anyone can do it.